I mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies. And sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
4 times the action, 4 times the adventure, and 4 times the fantastic. That made me want to throw up in my mouth by saying that. This whole film has been a lot of pain and suffering. That little tagline alone made me physically ill. It's very weird to say a film can make me physically ill. You're probably saying to yourself, Logan, a movie can't make you physically sick. It can impact you physically. Well, this one did, definitely. I was watching this movie. It made me physically tired, physically sick. It made me depressing somehow in a physical way. I never thought it was even possible until now. But besides the point of my weird illnesses, Fantastic Four came out in 2005, directed by the one, the only Tim Story. If he's your GOAT, then sure. I mean, Tim Story, he's done some cool films here and there, but I'm not that familiar with him, I guess. The film stars Lone Gruford, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, and also Michael Chiklis. If I said any of those names wrong, I'm sorry. Mainly Michael Chiklis and also Lone Grufford. I'm sorry. These are some weird names, but whatever. We're going to keep on pushing through it. You're probably asking yourself, why is this guy talking about Fantastic Four? Why isn't he talking about like Dune Part 2 or some other really cool film that came out recently? Well, the answer is because we're getting a very new Fantastic Four film coming out in July, and the Super Bowl also is happening in a couple weeks here, and most likely, as history has shown us, when the Super Bowl happens, Marvel likes to drop some kind of trailer. Last year, they had Death and Wolverine, very good movie. And also, I remember in 2018, they did the ones for Infinity War. 2019, they did Endgame. Most likely, the promotional for this film has started up like right now. So most likely, Super Bowl, that's when they're going to do it. Some kind of teaser, if anything's going to drop that same night. I'll be there to talk about it if I'm in the mood for it, I guess. But before that happens, we're going through all 3 of the Fantastic Four movies. Are there more of them? Yeah. There's a lot more like shows and stuff. Do I want to do those? No. I don't even want to do one of them, but I have to because I chose to make a promise. So here I am. But like I was saying, the film came out in 2005, and 2005 movies was a very weird time. Notable films that came out in 2005, it's a very, very long list. A very stacked year for film, like I always say. We had the one, the only Batman Begins, a very great film. Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars is like top 3 for that entire franchise. Brokeback Mountain, Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, no pun intended, actually a very fire film. Also Zathura, very, stacked year for films. It's a very big year. A lot of bangers here left and right. Why would you want to go see Fantastic Four? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm kind of stupid, so, whatever. I'm kind of dumb, but still. Fantastic Four came out too this year. A very big movie with a really, really like hot cast, I guess, if you want to say that. Specifically Jessica Alba, Chris Evans are 2 huge actors in this movie. Did very good here. Notable X-Men movies and I guess like Marvel films that came out before this. Marvel has been becoming more of an established brand. We had the first X-Men film, Spider-Man 1 from Sam Raimi, X2, also Spider-Man 2 as well from Sam Raimi. So it's been a few of those that's only 4. This is before the MCU as well. So the MCU hasn't really started yet. Marvel as a brand isn't that much quite yet, but still it's had some kind of, I guess, like a growing point. They've become more prominent to where Fantastic Four has kind of a place within the brand in the scope of, the Marvel stuff that's going on right now. So notable films, I think at the time, people definitely probably had some of an expectation, kind of. I mean, only like 2 of those films, mainly Spider-Man 1 and 2, are definitely great movies. But X-Men 1 and 2, they aren't the best, but still, some people may like them a little bit. So, Fantastic Four has some kind of anticipation going into it, some expectations, so it's got some to live up to, a little bit. Going into this film's release and reception, this film had a budget of $100 million, and it made $333 million. Sorry, $333.5 million, so definitely made its money back. This movie was definitely a very big smash hit, despite its critic, area side of things was not that good at all. For critics or audiences going on Rotten Tomatoes, this one has a 27% critic score and a 45% audience score. Definitely is not where you want to be on both those totem poles, but still, fans went out to go see it to kind of see, hey, are they going to get it right? I'm sorry, you're wasting your money. No, they did not. This film definitely isn't that good. Going into the Roger Ebert side of things, Roger Ebert is one of the best of all time. He's kind of the GOAT of film critiquing. Is he my idol? Sometimes. But today, yes, he is. And he has a review here for Fantastic Four. He gave the movie 1 out of 4 stars. This is definitely not the score you want to see from a goat here. In his review, I'll leave the full thing down below, but a little bit of a blurb from his review. He said, and the really good superhero movies like Superman, Spider-Man 2, Batman Begins leave Fantastic Four so far behind that the movie should be ashamed to show itself in the same theaters. That's definitely very true. Fantastic Four is kind of tarnishing this subgenre of, like you said, Superman, Spider-Man 2, Batman Begins. Those are like huge staples for not even just comic book films, but films in general are just so kind of essential with those movies, especially as I start going into my series of every single Superman movie. That first Superman movie is one of the greatest benchmarks in American history ever. For any kind of movie, sci-fi, drama, action, romance, Superman is one of the most iconic and important pieces of cinema ever. Spider-Man 2 isn't quite there, but still is very important. And also Batman Begins is the start to one of the best trilogies of all time. The first two, Batman Begins, and also, what was the second one? Dark Knight. Those are like two of the best ever. Dark Knight Rises, we don't talk about that one, but still, it's a very solid trilogy. And this one, Fantastic Four, being in that same subgenre, isn't that good at all. It's really just bad for the entire brand as a whole. Even though some of them are DC, some of them are Marvel, it's still the same team here. It's like when one does really good, the whole team wins. If one is really bad, then the whole team loses too. When going into the letterbox side of things, this film does have a 2.5 out of 5 average. I do have one review here from Mason Kinsey, who I don't see the review here or the rating, but he said in his review, it's kind of hilarious how they kind of nailed the characters in this movie, and that's definitely, I think, really true. The characters could be adapted better, but still, I think that the gist of what these characters should be, they do it in a good way. All of the actors are really good in here, especially Chris Evans, he's very good as well. But they do kind of nail the characters, but it's not the characters that's the problem. The characters are definitely, 8 out of 10 on that regard, at least in terms of the kind of like how they're adapted isn't exactly accurate. I would agree. I would kind of like assume that the way they're adapted here isn't maybe the most accurate, but still the way they're portrayed, I think definitely is where it should be. It's definitely a solid start. It's not going to be perfect, but still it's a solid entry to the kind of like aesthetic of what they should be. Not perfect, but still they do nail that very well. But there's just a little bit of a part here that's definitely not good, holds the film back, which I'm going to bring up here in a second. Okay, so going into the meat and potatoes here of this Fantastic Four movie, 2005, definitely, not the best ever, but still has a weird kind of place in my heart for some reason. This is my childhood after all. Number one, starting us off with some of the good stuff. The blue logo is fun. I know, that's like, really, Logan? The blue logo in the opening of the movie, that's like 5 seconds long. Yes, it's red instead of blue. I'm a child. I love it. I need more of that kind of thing. It's a fun little cute thing. I like it. It's cool. That's all I gotta say about it. It's fun. Number two is kind of a pro and a con. The movie starts fast. It is a definitely very fast-paced movie. The film is also only an hour and a half, hour 40-ish, which is, I think, kind of short. I'm not saying the film needs to be 5 hours or 4 hours long. It's not like it's Oppenheimer, but still, I think that it should be 2:10, 2:20 is kind of pushing it, but at least 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes, that's a little bit more fair to me, I'd say. But I do appreciate that the movie isn't trying to waste your time. I think that a lot of, not even just comic book movies, but movies in general, are just so slow at the start. It's like, I get it. I know what the movie's about. Can we just get on with it at this point? I have stuff to do after this. I have to go wash the car and also wash dishes and do my taxes. I don't care about a 50-minute intro to the movie. What's the main plot here about? And the movie starts quick. It definitely does very start quick. We are introduced to the characters, the main plot, within 15, 20 minutes. That's I guess a quarter kind of the movie, but still, it starts very quick. The main thing with the Fantastic Four is that they're 3 guys, 1 gal. They go into space, they get some powers, come back down to Earth, and they fight crime. That's essentially the entire movie. That's all you need to do. The opening, it's very quick. The whole space power stuff, they're doing that within 10, 15 minutes. It's very quick. I was kind of surprised by it, but still, it's I get it. Get to the point. I know what we're doing here. I'm just all here for the movie. Just let's get on with it already. I'm just really anxious about it. And now you're probably saying, Logan, it starts fast, saves your time. What's so bad about that? Well, I think that it could have just taken more time in the beginning for us to get to know the characters a little bit more, get to know the world a little bit more. What's the state of everything that's happening? Who are these characters? What's their goals and ambitions and dreams? That I think would have definitely benefited the film a little bit more if I kind of got the feeling that these characters knew each other at one point. You do, but I think that, by making the opening a little bit longer, by adding just a little bit more moments, could make it a little bit better. And then also just continue on with pacing issues. I'm going to mention it later, but the movie's pacing issues, I'm not the biggest fan of. It does start fast, and we do get everything fairly quickly, but then the movie kind of takes this very weird halt and drag for the rest of the runtime. It's just not the best at all. I get it, what they're trying to do, but the movie doesn't really feel like it's developing at all. It is, but the movie itself, the entire hour 40, hour 50 could have happened within 90% of the movie could have happened within the first 30. That's kind of how it feels. It feels like a mix of it's fast, that's good, but also it's slow, it drags, it needs to kind of pick up the pace or either do a better plot for the movie. Instead of having Doctor Doom, do Mole Man. That's the Fantastic Four villain. Mole Man is, I think, kind of a joke of a character, but still, that's good. Don't do Doctor Doom because you do him very bad here, and I don't have any respect or fear towards this buckethead guy. He's kind of a nerd. But going into more, the space scene with the powers, the CGI sucks there. The CGI is awful. I get it. It's 2005. CGI isn't the absolute best here. We have some exceptions, but for the most part, CGI, this is still a very experimental era. Yes, this same year we did have King Kong. King Kong CGI is very good, but also Revenge of the Sith CGI is awful. Also Shark Boy and Lava Girl, the same exact year. It's awful CGI. We know that already. Herbie Fully Loaded, 2005 as well. Also, pretty bad CGI. It's nothing new. It was limited by the time, but still, I had to note it out here. The CGI, it does struggle. Even as it's aged on, it's not the best in the world. It's kind of hard to look at sometimes. Then after they go into space, they get their powers. The powers are kind of still cooking up in their bodies a little bit. So they go back down to Earth. They're in this weird testing facility thing. And now this sequence of them all getting their powers, it's a whole lot of fun. It's really cool. It's super fun. Feels like a comic book. Like I said, this comic book shouldn't be this long. At least this part of the comic book is still kind of dragging a little bit. But still, it's really fun how they get their powers. Oh my god, I can stretch. Oh my gosh, I can turn invisible. Oh my gosh, I have fire. That's really fun. And then there's Ben Grimm. Hey, what's your power? Oh, I turn into a big monster. My wife is divorcing me. That's tragic. That's actually very sad. I love The Thing, by the way. My next big pro for the movie. The Thing is very good. And The Thing is a character who I knew about. I knew about The Thing a lot. I've seen this movie I think countless times. Fantastic Four, all of them I've seen countless times at this point. I know the character of Ben Grimm in The Thing. He hasn't been done the best inside of anything, but still, in this movie, as I've aged older, his character is very depressing, and I think that he's definitely, at least I think in terms of maybe writing, he's definitely, I think, the best developed in the movie. Second, probably Mr. Fantastic, but number one, definitely The Thing, Ben Grimm. He's my new favorite. Turned into a monster against his will and lost literally everything. His wife left him, divorced him. Even through sickness and in health, she still left him. That's just sad. His entire life lost, gone forever in one single day. And he didn't even want it. It can't even really be fixed. And that's a real sad and struggle of a character that I really do love. I love these kinds of characters. They're a whole lot of fun. Ben Grimm, he's up in my I'll say to be safe, top 20, top 15-ish characters for Marvel. There's a lot of them, so I gotta be a little bit fair. But Ben Grimm, really cool character. I want to see him do better inside of the new Fantastic Four movie. And he's a guy who has a lot of sadness and pain with him that can be explored a lot as we go into, hopefully, this new and better adaptation. And also, speaking of the bridge scene, this bridge scene CGI also sucks, but it does what it needs to do. It has the fun wittiness of the comic book, and also it does do the essential, oh my gosh, we have powers. We need to use our powers in the streets for the first time and then find out we can be more than what we are. And, all that blah, blah, blah. Very cliche comic book stuff, but it works. It's a very textbook, easy thing to do. That's essential for any movie. Especially for comic books. They do it time and time again. It's important. And, at this point, I think all the characters in this movie, I think are really cool, except for Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is a guy who they've done 3 films at this point, 3 movies with Doctor Doom in them, and in none of these movies is Doctor Doom at any point to me menacing or cool or any bit of exciting. He's kind of lame. And I know this is my only kind of experience with the character, but Doctor Doom to me is a weirdo. He's whack. He's a loser. He has no friends. He's just boring. He's like Elon Musk if he got powers and became more money hungry. That's not that cool. I don't like that. I know in the comics he's like a million times better of a character, but listen, in my perspective, this is the only thing I have for Doctor Doom, and he's really lame. I hate this guy. Hoping in the future, once again, they do better with him, but for now, it's really whack. Like, I don't even know what his powers exactly are. Is he just like Storm or like Electro, where he can control electricity? Is that what he does? That what he can do? I don't even know. But still, the movie doesn't really kind of take the time to explore it. Is he fully metal or just like part metal? I don't know. I have no idea. The film doesn't care either. They do a really bad job with this guy. He deserves more, and I hope that they do in the future. But for now, right here, Doctor Doom is one of the biggest things that drag the film down by a long shot. And, for the film and for most other comic book films, the conflict for the movie has to lie within a villain. That's just kind of essential. There's, at least from my experience, there's either like a few or none out of any of the comic book films that we had. None of them really do a movie where the conflict lies within instead of a villain to go out and push them to do heroic acts. That really never happens for a reason, because you need a villain to give the hero conflict, especially if it's someone kind of lame, like how the MCU, a very big critique there is how the villain in their movie is just like an evil version of them. That's just like the common theme of things, and that's definitely cliche, but it's very essential. I watched Iron Man 1 last month. Iron Man 1 is a very good movie. Jeff Bridges is not the best villain in the world. He is just an evil version of Tony Stark. But still, it's essential to have that kind of conflict in the movie. And if Doctor Doom is just going around trying to invest in more stocks and just hunt down his shareholders, that's not fun or exciting. That's kind of boring and lame. It feels like The Office or like Suits, but with superheroes and a bigger budget. It's not that fun at all. It's kind of whack. And then for most of the film, the conflict lies within the team, and the team trying to fix their powers, undo what happened, which I think on paper is very good and it's very smart. It's understandable why this team would want to get rid of their powers. None of them asked to be superheroes until they kind of needed to be, but that's like 90% of the movie. It's not until the third act where we see them finally go out together and face up against Doctor Doom, their biggest villain, their biggest threat. And it's like at that point, I'm already checked out of the movie. I'm already checked out of the conversations of them having like, hey, we need to use these powers for good. And no, these powers are a curse. That's like 90% of the movie. It's boring to me. It doesn't really do anything to me. It is conflict for the movie, but it's just lame and boring conflict. I've seen it time and time again in a ton of different movies. I know that by the end of the movie, they're going to be a team. They got to speed up a little bit here. The whole point of Fantastic Four is to see this first family be together. And if that's not the point of the movie, the main movie of Fantastic Four isn't until like the last 5 minutes, I'm going to be a little bit upset by that. At the very least, in a movie like Avengers 2012, Avengers, I think, isn't the perfect example of this. But so with Avengers, the Avengers in that first movie aren't even like, a team. They're kind of a group of guys a group of guys and one gal who argue a lot and just bicker and complain about everything. They don't get along at all, and still they find a way to use that conflict as a way to move forward with the movie and still find a way to make them a team at the end. It's a really good kind of example of what to do here, and this movie, I don't think did it well at all. Fantastic Four does a bad job at selling the team aspect of everything, and Avengers 2012 is a perfect example of how the team struggles. They're not really a main unit at all throughout the most of the movie, but still they find a way to add conflict, add intrigue, add all these different layers to the movie, which makes it better. And I understand Avengers came after like 4 or 5 movies, but still, there's a whole lot of here to do. There's a whole lot of what they could have done a lot better that is just wasted potential. I still believe that one day, hopefully this summer, we're going to have a good Fantastic Four movie that does what it needs to do. This one got really close, but the bad things with this one is that A, There's not really any kind of conflict at all within this main movie. The villain is going out there trying to invest in BlackRock and also Tesla and crypto. And then our main team is arguing most of the movie and never really do any team things besides like 2 scenes, which isn't my cup of tea for a team Fantastic Four movie. It's not explored that well at all. And I'll admit, once again, the characters maybe don't need to be the best. I mean, I do think that Mr. Fantastic, he's all right. His main things that I love Sue Storm. I need more Sue Storm in my life. She's so beautiful, which, hey, if it's Jessica Alba, I'm on your team, buddy, for sure. But still, they should have done more with him. They can do more with him. He didn't really sell the whole being the smartest man alive kind of thing. In some scenes, sure, but not all of them. Johnny Storm's great as always. Jessica Alba as Invisible Woman is great for obvious reasons, definitely relating to the plot here. And also Ben Grimm, like I said, the big hulking guy with the rocks, the Thing, he's really good. He's my favorite character out of all of them. I think that in terms of on paper and objectively speaking, he's the best. But in terms of like pure vibes and just aura, it's definitely, what's this guy's name? Johnny Storm. Definitely. All the fire and stuff, he's number 1 for me for sure. And then as for overall lessons for the movie, what did I learn from this movie? There's not a whole lot. This one actually kind of sucks. But really the main thing that I learned is that it's never too late. And after that, insert whatever you want to say. It's never too late to start a new career, start a business, start your new passion, hobby, whatever. It's never too late to make things right. It's never too late to take your pain and struggle and make it into an actual good thing. That's what I learned from the movie. It's never too late. And it's all going to work out in the end eventually. My final score for the movie is going to be a D- or a D+. I don't even know, but it's a D. This one isn't that good at all. Hopefully in the future, we get some better stuff. I'm going to be rewatching Silver Surfer, which I know is like worse than this one. So I'm actually kind of sad about that, but it's only an hour and a half. I'm going to go watch that like right now, actually. So I'll see you boys in a minute. But until that happens, we do have our Buzz from the Backlot. That's going to happen right now. What is that, you may be asking? Well, Buzz from the Backlot is just fun facts. And then MVP is pretty obvious MVP. So that's going to happen right now. Don't go anymore. If you want to leave, you can leave. But if you want to stay, it's going to get a whole lot better. And usually for superlatives, there's more like awards and stuff. But like I said in the last episode, pardon our dust. I'm still under construction here, trying to just add some more cooler segments and stuff to the show that can make it a little bit more interesting. But until then, I do have a lot of fun facts, actually, for Buzz from the Backlot. For the first fun fact, Michael Chiklis was offered the role of the Thing after Jennifer Garner suggested him for it, which I'm not sure why. I mean, he's kind of good in the role, but there's better guys for it, in my opinion. Number 2 fun fact here is that Paul Walker was considered for the part of Johnny Storm, which could have actually been very good. I'm not going to lie. I did a couple months ago, back in like November, October, something like that, around that range. I watched the Fantastic Four. I watched Fast and the Furious. I'm so sorry. Fast and the Furious. I watched 1, 2, 3, like 4 and 5, like all of those back to back. And I think that early 2000s, Paul Walker could have been very good in here. He could have been absolutely incredible. Definitely missed out. But, it's all right. Chris Evans is still very good. But Paul Walker in this role could have been very good. And then for our third fun fact, I do have that Jessica Alba's underwear scene was added after the actress had agreed to be in the film for reasons of the plot. Not at all pertaining to her being Jessica Alba, purely because it was important for the film. Why else would it be in here? Come on, be serious, be for real here. For our fourth fun fact, I do have that George Clooney and Brendan Fraser were considered for the part of Mr. Fantastic. George Clooney, I can see. Brendan Fraser would be also just a whole lot of fun. But I like our main guy here. He's kind of cool in this role. He can kind of do it. I think that we're going to see him in Secret Wars. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. I kind of predicted, but, I'm going to be biting my tongue. But let's see. Then for our final fun fact, I do have that James Gandolfini was considered for the role of Ben Grimm / The Thing. And James Gandolfini in this role, I can only imagine he would have been like so good in this. I feel like seeing The Thing with like an Italian accent. Oh, look at me. I'm full of rocks. This is terrible. Oh my gosh, give me a pizza. This is the stupid thing I've heard. That could have been crazily good. Imagine that. That could have been awesome. But, another day, we'll maybe see that in the future. James Gandolfini, though, rest in peace to the GOAT. He's awesome. I love him. Then for the MVP, we're going to go ahead and give it to the one, the only, that fiery guy himself, Chris Evans. He's the clear MVP. He steals every single scene on screen. He's absolutely awesome. He's incredible. I love him playing that cliche hothead jock guy. It's great. He was like, I think, made for this and Captain America. That's it. He's been kind of struggling to find good roles recently, but Chris Evans, he's still my GOAT of all time, and he's the MVP. He couldn't make it in today for some reason, so I'll mail him the award as always, like I do with all the other guys. So that's what we got to say for that. And that's it. That's going to wrap it up for Fantastic Four 2005. Let me know, is this film good to you? Is it bad? What makes it good or bad to you? And how can it be better? How can they, kind of make this movie better for the new one coming out in July? Who knows? We have a little fan mail thing down there below. We also have a thing on Spotify. And, you can just kind of hit me up there if you want to. That'll be a whole lot of fun. Follow us everywhere. I would say follow us on TikTok, but it got banned, so I uninstalled it. And then now it's on the App Store. And then it got unbanned like 12 hours later. So I can't install TikTok anymore. I can't access my account on there. So I'll be on Instagram instead. I'll be posting stuff on Instagram, which should be fun. But TikTok, I won't be on there until I can, because I uninstalled it like an idiot. So we'll see what happens. Big stuff happening this week. We do have tomorrow the Oscar announcement, which I'll be at work. I'm home today because I was an idiot and my car is really messed up right now. So I will either be home tomorrow or I'll be at work tomorrow. But either way, Monday, I should have a video just kind of going over what got announced, what I think is going to win, and what should have been nominated. I didn't see that many films last year, so I'm going to kind of work on that. But still, I'm going to give my list of what will, what won't, and what should have. That should be fun, I think. Until then, outside of that, like I said, Monday's Oscars, and then on next week, Friday, we're going into Fantastic Four Silver Surfer, because the NFL is rolling through. We're almost Super Bowl. Hope to God that the Chiefs don't win, but we're going to have to see about it. Until then, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more films as always, and I'm Real Slogan. I'll see you boys in the movies.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my story.